Welcome again to another storytell reading of Mariel of Redwall. Last time, let's see, where did we leave off? I can't seem to remember. Where did we leave off? Let me see. I think I can tell. What chapter did we... This is a good book to read for springtime, Nowruz, Persian New Year, and Easter. I got this book for Easter a long time ago in the early 90s, and it was actually signed for me by Brian Jacques himself at the Likely Story bookstore in Alexandria, Virginia. Oh, yes, we're on chapter 8. Oh, yes, so I want to show you real quick. This is where he signed. I got some Easter candy stains on it, but books are meant. A worn book is a good book, happy book. To Aaron, happy reading, your friend Brian Jakes. So we're on chapter 8. Let's see. And picks up with Dandin, the young mouse log banger of Redwall Abbey. Dandin was composing songs for the abbot's feast. He sat in the shade of a great spreading oak, his flute running through old songs, tunes, and ditties. Saxtus sat with him, as did several of the moles and Redwall creatures. They joined in choruses of well-known songs and called for Dandin to sing some more. The moles would not be satisfied until Dandin rendered their particular favourite. "Sing us ye song about Sir Gonfin and ye girt cake, Dandin." Dandin nodded and picked up his flute. It is one of his own special ballads. Ballads. Where did I put my flute, says Dandin. I can't find my flute. Oh, no matter. Oh, so Dandin nodded and picked up his flute. It was one of his own special ballads telling of how his forekin, Gaunt, the Prince of Mouseleaves, stole a cake baked at by Abbess Germain, first mother of Redwall Abbey. He trilled an introduction on Gaunt's own flute before launching into song. I put it. I should cut. Never mind. Here we go. It happened in the springing time, when all the leaves were green, and once again Abbess Germain a baking cakes had been. She stirred them good and mixed them fine with honey, nuts, and flour, then put them out to cool a while until the tea time hour. But then along came bold Sir Gaunt, his eyes a twinkling bright, a cake he'd set his heart upon for supper time that night. He took the greatest cake of all from off the window ledge, and hid it in a secret place close by the forest edge. The abbess came to check her cakes about the noontide, and found the mouse thief with a bow and arrows at his side. "Why stand you there, O Gaunt?" said she, "with arrows and bow and arrows armed?" "My good abbess," the thief replied, "you must not be alarmed. I saw an eagle steal your cake, he swooped then flew away. So I stand guard upon your cakes, lest he returns today." The abbess chose another cake, which to Sir Gaunt she gave. "Take this reward, young mouse," she said, "because you were so brave. And when upon each baking day my lovely cakes I make, I'll make a special one for you, for your kind action's sake." The moles fell about, rolling on the grass with helpless merriment. Yon Sir Gonfin, ye were a tricky one. Bore ye here, ye were a villain all right, a scrumpany girt cake. Ho. "Come on there," Saxtus called to a mole named William. "What about a song from you, William? You're a champion mole singer, aren't you?" William heaved his teeny fat body up from the grass. He needed no second bidding. Smoothing down his velvety coat and polishing his nose, he clasped his huge digging paws in front of him and began singing in the traditional manner of the moles, his voice a deep rusty bass, surprising in one so small. I loves the woodlands too, I do, like apple tart, and good October ale that foams is dear unto my heart. O raspberry cream I oft do dream, it makes my eyes do shine. 'Tis a fact that I likes anything when I sits down to dine. O mole, mole, down the hole, don't you eat none o' mine. It's I won't get a bite to eat when I sits down to dine. He bowed and kissed his paws to the company as they applauded, and wrinkling his nose until his round black eyes were almost lost behind chubby cheeks. Turning to Saxtis, William returned the compliment. Now it be thy turn to sing a song, Sir Saxtis. Saxtis waved his paws, blushing modestly. No, I'm the worst singer in the abbey. My voice sounds like a mad owl with his beak trapped in a log. Dandin clapped his friend upon the back. Go on, you dusty old bookworm. You're as dry as Brother Hubert. I've got an idea. Why don't you recite us a poem? You've learned a lot of them from those old books and parchments in the Kate house. Go on, Saxtis, have a go. Saxtis remained seated. He shuffled and coughed nervously. Oh, all right, if you really must. But I'm not too good at this sort of thing. Right, here goes. This is a rhyme I found on a scroll in the Gout House some seasons ago. I'm not sure what it means, but I like the words. Saxtus summoned up his courage and began reciting. The wind's icy breath, oh, where the land of death tells a tale of yet to come. Cross the heaving waves which mark ships' graves lies an island known to some, where seas pound loud and rocks stand proud, and blood flows free as water. To the far northeast, which knows no rest, comes a father and his daughter. The mind was numb and the heart struck dumb when the night seas took the child, hurled to her fate by a son of Hellgate, the dark one called the Wild. You whom they seek, though you do not speak, the legend is yet to be born. One day you will sing over stones that are red in the misty summer dawn. An eerie silence had fallen over the young creatures sitting beneath the oak in the sunlit midday grounds of the abbey. Saxtus fidgeted with embarrassment as they stared at him. Tree Rose, the pretty squirrel, was the first to break the silence. Well, that was a silly, nasty little rhyme. I didn't like it one bit. There's no story and no point to it. What a load of old mumbo-jumbo. She shot off the trunk of the oak, showering them with leaves and twigs as she did. To break the mood, Dandin began applauding loudly. Hooray! Well done, Saxtis! Very good! The others joined in until they were interrupted by Mother Melis. Come on, you young'uns. Bring any of these dibbins you may find with you. Lunchtime, come on. It's being served in the orchard. Turnip and mushroom flan with beetroot and scallions, followed by honeysuckle sauce and acorn dumplings. And I want to see clean paws before anybody gets served. As they washed their paws in the rain barrel by the abbey's south wall, Dandin questioned Saxtus. Where in the name of fur did you learn that poem? It was very strange. Told you, didn't I? It was on some dusty old scroll in the gatehouse. I read it when Brother Hubert dozed off. Now the confounded thing seems to have burnt itself into my memory. Blind Simeon joined the friends, dipping his paws into the butt with them. Yes, some things have a habit of doing that, don't they? Still, who knows? They may come in useful through the seasons to come. I'll be glad I remembered it if I were you, young Sextus. Would you, brother? I certainly would. There is much knowledge in ancient writings. Actually, I was standing near the oak when you recited it. You were right. The words do have a certain ring to them. Oh, and Dandon, would you like something to remember also? Yes, please, Brother Simeon. What is it? Remember to leave some of those acorn dumplings for us old ones. We can't make it to the table as fast as you young'uns. Dandon smiled as he winked at Saxtus. Come on then, brother. Hold our paws. We'll lead you round to lunch, and you'll get as much as any beast. We'll see to it. The two young friends led the blind herbalist off to the orchard, astounded by his perception of their movements. Dandin, why did you wink at Saxtus when you said you would take me to lunch? I meant nothing, brother. Why do you ask? Because I remember a similar wink passing between those two little other villains, Bag and Run, when they said they would resist me into supper. I ended in the dusty old gatehouse where they dashed off and scoffed off all them oats muffins with clover butter. But you wouldn't do a thing like that to me, would you? This time it was Saxtus who winked at Danton. We couldn't, brother. You're holding our paws far too tight. Early that same morn the Dark Queen had roused her bows in the Terramont Cove, as Leda gave the order. A double fluked anchor splashed into the clear water. Saltar the Corsair came ashore with his crew. They were fully armed, but relaxed by the sight of the empty cove. The sea rats were still wading through the shallows to the shingled beach, when the rocks in front of them came alive with 100 of Gabool's fighters armed with long spears and cross-hilted pikes. Saltar cursed beneath his breath, but showed no sign. Standing with his crew knee-deep in the shallows, he faced the bristling pikes boldly. Bildrats! What's all this about? Where's Gabool? Blagtail, the leader of the shore party, shrugged. In Fort Bloggart! He said you'd come up. You're to come up. Leda waded up level with Saltar, drawing his scimitar. But what if we choose not to? Blagtail waved his spike twice in the air. 50 archers stood up in the rocks above his head, each one with a shaft notched to its taut bowstring. Gabool said to tell you he only wishes to be hospitable. The sound of the Dark Queen's anchor being hauled up caused Saltar to turn around. His worst suspicions were confirmed. The ship was drifting gently out into open water. Greypatch and 50 grinning sea rats lined the decks. Don't worry, shipmate, he called out to Saltar in a mocking voice. She'll come to no harm. We'll take her for a sail round the bay, while you're jawing on chattering with Gabool. Leda made it as if to hurl his sword at the sneering Greypatch, but Saltar muttered in his ear. Stow it, mate. Leave this to me. Saltar strode up the beach, pushing Blagtail's pike to one side as he went. Come on, let's go and see what this high lordship wants. The banqueting hall tables were piled high with food and drink. Gabool threw himself down in his throne at the head of the biggest table. He was wearing no sword, smiling expansively. Hey, you siscum, here comes... Oh. Hey, you siscum, here comes the best captain in me fleet and his brave crew. Sit down, Saltar, old messmate, and you, me favourite wave robbers. Pull some chairs up and fill those bellies. Only the best for the best. Saltar's crew fell to with a will, splashing wine, tearing meat, grabbing and stuffing for all they were worth. The king of the sea rats indicated that Saltar sit next to him. The Corsair did as he was bid. One clawed his sabre, eating and drinking nothing. Gabool laughed. Ha ha ha! Ripping a bite from a crooked fish and hurling it over his shoulder. He quaffed wine, slopping it over the table. Ha ha! Not like good food and wine, eh, Saltar? I suppose you've heard about your brother Bludrig. No? What about my brother Bludrig? Saltar lied with a straight face. Gabool tore a roasted seabird apart in his claws, burying his face into the carcass as he gnawed through it and came up grinning. Had to kill him. Ripped his head off with me sword. Saltar's expression never altered a flicker. What for? Gabool wiped his greasy paws on his beard. Disobedience. Being too greedy, wanting to take my place as king. Had to kill him. Swish, lost. Swish, that was it. That old blue drig lost his head. Gabool and Saltar's eyes met, betraying nothing, but each waiting for the right moment. Saltar toyed with a goblet of wine. Was he armed when you killed him? No, he was trying a crown for size. Slowly Saltar stood up, his claw grasping the curved sword at his side. I've heard you are very good at killing armed beasts. How about trying one who's got a weapon? Gabool's claw began reaching for a sword hidden beneath the table. Give us a chance, matey. You can see I'm not carrying a sword. Look. Now it was Saltar's turn to laugh. Ho, ho, ho! Then I'll hurry get yourself one, King of Sea Rats. Although I've heard that even armed with a sword you were beaten by a little mouse maid. Gabool sent the table toppling as he kicked it and freed his sword blade, his face a mask of ugliness and cruelty as he launched himself forward. That's a lie! A black-hearted lie! You'll die for it, Saltar! Automatically, the sea rat stood up. This was not only a battle to the death between two famous fighters, it was also a contest to decide kingship. Gabool the Wild slashed viciously at Saltar. The corsair dodged nimbly to one side, swinging his sword in one claw as he wound the cord of the steel hook round his other and beckoned with it, insulting and taunting in the manner of sea rats, to goad his victim into a false move. My brother could have taken you with a cooking ladle, coward. My brother could have taken you with a cooking ladle, coward. Gabool circled, the light glinting off his golden, emerald-studded fangs. I'm gonna hang you by your hook and let the gulls rip out your lying tongue, Crabsbeat. Suddenly they clashed, sword ringing upon sword. Saltar's hook ripped through Gabool's cloak, pulling him forward. Quick as a flash, Gabool cut his cloak loose, one of the daggers from his waist staggering back as Saltar's clanging blade drove him down the hole. You'll die screaming, Gabool! I'll make you call me king before I put you out of your misery. Smiling inwardly, Gabool allowed Saltar's onslaught to press him backward down the hole. Through outwardly, the warlord's expression was grim, and he acted as though he was hard-pressed, panting and parrying and dodging the cleaving blade and pointed hook tip. This gave Saltar the feeling that he had gained the upper claw. Not as easy as fighting my unarmed brother. Not as easy as fighting my unarmed brother, your majesty, he taunted Gabool. But no matter. Saltar the Corsair isn't a mouse maid. I'll finish the job properly, so that when you're hacked to doll rags, you'll know it was me who did it. Stumbling over footstools, bumping into tables, reeling over walls. What was that? Gabool seemed to blunder backward. Saltar's sword threatening spit him at each thrust, the flailing hook coming to within a hair's breadth of his throat. Now the King of Sea Rats was down on one knee, a short distance from the hanging wall curtain. Saltar smashed mercilessly downward at him. Gabool's sword, held sideways, deflecting the blows, seemed to quaver for one desperate moment. A gasp arose from the piratical assembly. Suddenly Gabool fell, rolled over, and leaping high, snatched a war torch from its brackets. He regained his stance. On the other side of Saltar, like lightning, the Corsair turned. Aye! Gabool struck Saltar with a blazing torch, driving him black into the hidden blade behind the wall hanging. The trap worked efficiently. Saltar died instantly, an expression of painted surprise stamped indelibly upon his brutal features. Silence fell over the banqueting hall. Gabool spat carelessly at the impaled carcass of his one-time enemy. Turning on his heel, he sprang up on the largest dining table, scattering cups, food, plates, and drink with a series of resounding smashes. The warlord turned upon the gathering of sea rats. Gabool's eyes blazed. His wings and bracelets jangled. The gold emerald-studded teeth showed in a ferocious grin through his matted and ribbon beard. Pointing to all corners of the hall with his curving sword, he roared at the top of his lungs, "I'm Gabor the Wild, king of the sea rats. Who am I, you carrion of the water? Speak my name, you vermin of the main." Swords and daggers, spears and pikes waved in the air. There was not one in all the crowd who dared not shout out aloud, "Gabor the Wild, king of all sea rats!" A pounding upon the hall doors echoed in the silence which followed. Blagtail threw the doors open to reveal one of the Dark Queen's prize crew, Shornia, wounded and half drowned. He staggered in, collapsing in an exhausted heap upon the floor. Raising himself on one claw, he pointed out of the window. "Lord Craypatch has sailed off from the Dark Queen." Kabul came up off the table like a springing panther. Seizing the wretched Shornia, he hoisted him to his paws. "What? How did this happen?" "Lord, he had it all planned with the others. I would not go along with his wishes, so I was thrown overboard." "Greypatch, my faithful old shipmate, why would he do this to me?" "He said that you were too dangerous, too wild and treacherous. Greypatch said to us that that any rat who followed him would at least be able to sleep at night without feeling a knife in his back. He said that you were death to any creature your shadow fell upon, friend and enemy alike. I heard him say that he would not take his crew to a place of safety where none could follow." Gabul absently let Shornia drop to the floor. "Well, well, who would have thought it, eh? Me old messmate Greypatch, the one sea rat I thought I could trust, turned traitor on me. The Dark Queen was my best ship. Blagtail, is there any more of my fleet anchored around the coves?" Blagtail scratched his chin. "Nightwake and Sea Talon are breached in the North Cove, Lord. They both need careening and recaulking. Crabclaw, too, but she was holed and lost her rudder on the rocks. None of them are seaworthy." "Ah! Where are the rest of me ships?" "Wayblade, Blacksail, Rathelm, and Greenfang are all on the high seas, Lord, but they should be back by the next full moon." "Gah! Gah! As soon as they come in, turn 'em round and get 'em out to sea again. I want the Dark Queen back. I want her hidden into Terrormort Cove with the Greypatch's head stuck on the bowsprit and his crew in chains. Whoever does this for me will be made sea captain of all me fleet, next only in rank to me." Immediately 3 rats sprang forward. Gabul hailed them. "Riptongue, Cat's Eyes, Grimtooth, pick yourself a crew each. Get those 3 craft in North Cove shipshape again. I want them seaworthy 2 days from now. Take my house slaves and chain 'em up as your crews in the galleys. I will hunt Greypatch down, do you hear me? My fleet will track 'em across the main from Tide's End to Hell Waters. There will be no place on land or sea where he will hide from the wrath of Gabul. Now go." And that's the end of chapter 8. This is chapter 9. There's a picture of a medallion with a hair on it. Just over half a day of being tugged about blindfolded by ill-tempered Pakatug was quite enough for Storm. She had been scratched by nettles, poked by branches, and jumped by trees, when finally the recluse squirrel called a halt for lunch. They sat down beneath a wide-trunked sycamore which had pushed itself a fair living space in the dense forest. Storm unbound Gulwhacker from where Pakatug had placed it about her eyes. "I get those blindfold back on right now. Do you hear?" The mouse maid blinked and rubbed her eyes at the shafting sunlight of the green woodland aisles. "Oh, go boil your tear, squirrel. How do you expect me to eat lunch with a rope around my eyes?" Pakatug pulled food and drink from his knapsack and sniffed.
Leave it off then, but only for meal times, and don't be grazing all round trying to fix on your bearings, eh?
Storm saw that the hares had left a small stone medallion threaded around her neck as she slept. It bore a badger's head and a flat-peaked mountain insignia. She looked up, countering the squirrel's remark. Huh, who wants to see your silly old forest? It's not yours anyhow. It'd take more than a squirrel dressed as a tree to rule all this. What's for lunch? Pakatug sat on the rucksack, clutching the oat scones and flask he had taken from it.
Well, I'm having these oat cakes and a sup of this, though I don't know what you're dining on. I only said I'll take you to Redwall. Never said I'd feed you as well. That weren't part of the bargain.
Storm could not believe her ears. She watched Pakatug smugly munching away at a scone. I'd share half of anything I had with a hungry creature, you greedy branch-bound old miser.
Right, that's it. I've taken enough cheek from you, mouse. Shut your mouth and get your blindfold back on right now.
Storm tried hard to keep her voice level. No! I'm not going to be blindfolded and hungry for you or any beast. Swiftly Pakatug leaped up and fitted a dart to his blowpipe.
Gotcha now, missy.
Do as I bid, or I'll dead in your paw for a season with this dart. As Storm stood up and reached for her rope, the squirrel fired. She threw herself sideways, hearing the thud as a sharp dart buried itself deep in the bark of a nearby pine. Launching herself forward, the mouse maid thwacked out with her gull-whacker. The blowpipe was knocked from Pakatug's mouth. He sat down hard, his eyes watering copiously as he clutched the end of his nose, where the knotted rope had belted him. Storm stood over him, the light of battle in her eyes. First you blindfolded me, then you starved me. Now you try to wound me. Sit still and don't make a move, Squirrel. I don't trust you any more. Hungry, munching alternate bites from an apple and a scone, she watched the squirrel applying a leaf poultice to his swollen snout. He was muttering fiercely.
Huh, me? Pakatug? Letting a slip of a mouse break me nose?
Storm shook her weapon grimly. Listen, Squirrel. I'm no slip of a mouse. I'm Storm Gullwalker. So don't think you can bully and trick a creature smaller than yourself. I've split this food into 2 equal halves. You can go where you want and take yours with you. I'll find Redwall Abbey on my own without having to protect my back against you. Grumpily, Pakatug stuffed half of the provisions into his knapsack. He hurried off down the dim trail, yelling back derisively.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that, you little fool. You'll never find Redwall alone. You'll die in this forest without Pakatug to guide you.
Storm, the slight humor of, saw the slight humor of the... Oh, shoot. Sorry, just a minute. This is this lamp. Man, oh man. Oh, sorry. Storm saw the slight humor of the situation. Aye, and I'd never have reached Redwall being blinded, starved, and wounded, she called out back. On your way, you nasty old flea bag. The mousemaid ate a leisurely meal and rested a while before packing the remainder of her provisions and setting off to find Redwall alone. There was no trace of Pakatug, nor any living creature, just the still green summer forest. Storm tossed her gullwhacker high in the air. It landed with the knotted end pointing in the opposite direction to that had taken by the squirrel. Trusting to luck, she strode off in the direction the knot had pointed. The afternoon wore on. Hardly a breeze stirred the leafy canopy overhead as the teeny creature trekked resolutely through the maze of tree, brush, and fern, noting from time to time the position of the sun, which she had tried always to keep at her back, knowing that if it set in the west, she must be travelling east. To restore her confidence in the enveloping silence, Storm tried to hum old snatches of songs, but she could not remember any. With a careless shrug, she pushed on. The soft swish of her paws through grass An occasional bird song, the only sound that fell upon her ears. Once she came on a small stream. The mousemaid drank and bathed her paws, wondering what Redwall would look like if ever she was fortunate enough to find it. Shades of evening turned the forest to a gloomy black-green vault as Storm plodded on, not sure whether she was going in the direction of her goal or travelling in circles. Gradually every tree, leaf, and bush began to look the same. Night closed in on the forest, and the mousemaid lost her way completely. She strayed from the dim trail and into impenetrable shrouds of wood and vegetation. Storm kept her confidence up by telling herself that being lost in a wood was better than being lost at sea, but the surrounding night and the oppressive silence sat heavily upon her spirit. She fondly wished that it was daylight, or that she could meet another living creature. Sitting despondently at the foot of an elm, she sipped mint water from a flask, she ate some white cheese studded with dark roast acorns, and decided to await the dawn. Then she saw the light, faintly at first, like an elusive will-o'-the-wisp, far away amid the trees. Swiftly and silently Storm made her way toward it. Still some distance away, she could tell it was the campfire of some sort. There was music, too. Some creature was playing a stringed instrument and singing a song in a raucous voice. If I were a stone, I'd lie alone amid the sea and clay, oh, till some good beastie picked me up and threw me far away, oh. Lolly-too-diddle-dum, rinky-too-skiddle-dum, there's bread and cheese and cider, said the hedgehog maid who sat to supper, but now 'tis all in cider. It was a funny-looking hare, dressed in a jester's attire. Half green, half yellow, he sat by a small campfire, tinkling a curious stringed instrument. Storm decided that there was no use beating about the bush. Had already met some hares who were friendly. Boldly she strode in and sat down on the opposite side of the fire. The hare winked at her and continued, Now my grandpa, he was by far a dreadful fat old liar. It's cold in the river tonight, he said, as he sat upon the fire, till my old grandma came along and hit him with the ladle. There's another egg been cracked, she laughed as she set him on the table. Doodle-o-lolly turn till doodly-iddly-um, I love the rabbit's daughter, and she fed me on pots of tea made out of boiling water. Storm laughed at the old creature and his comical ditty. He twitched his floppy ears. Now then, young mousekill, what can we do for you? Storm shrugged. Not a lot, sir. I'm lost, you see. Perhaps I could rest by your fire until dawn. The squirrel shook his head. Lost? I knew a woodpecker once who got lost. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you find him again? Find him? Of course I found a blighter. That's how he came to get lost in the first place. Who lost you, or better still, who do you want to be found by? Nobody lost me, and I'm looking for Redwall Abbey. So how could an abbey find me? Good question. But no need to fret your mousy little heart. What's your name? I'm going to Redwall so we can both get lost together. You mean you're lost too? Who said I am? Don't talk ridiculous. Never been lost in my life, young thingy. Do I look lost? Sitting here by my own campfire, singing away and twinging my little harolina. To stop any further indignation, Storm commented on the instrument. Ah, so that's what it is called, a harolina? What a nice instrument! I've never seen one before. Never seen a blinkin' harolina? Courts, no wonder you're lost. I say that is a long patrol medal you happen to be wearing. This? Oh, yes, it was given to me by Colonel Clary, Brigadier Time, and Hon Rosie. Before Storm could say any more, a dreamy look crossed the jester hare's face, making him look extra foolish.
Egads! On Rosie, the Honourable Rosemary, exquisite creature, completely adorable gal, don't you know? Ha! Did she mention my name, by the way?
I don't know. What is your name?
Tarquin L's Wood Sorrel, though she may have called me Tuckers, or jolly old Tarkers, or jolly old Tark. She did mention me, didn't she? You wouldn't kid a chap, would you? Go on and say she did.
Storm saw that the old poor fellow was so agitated that she had to lie a bit. Oh, Tarkers, yes, she did nothing but talk about you.
Good egg, I knew it. Go on, what did she say?
Let me see. She said you were very handsome, a fine singer, and a wonderful player, and she wished you were on patrol with her. Tarquin L. Woodsorrel fell flat on his back, kicking his long legs ecstatically into the air.
Ups a belly spiffin bunky dory, woohoo!
Storm coughed politely. Does this mean you'll take me to Redwall Abbey, Mr. Woodsorrel?
Abu already, mouse? Of course I will. You can call me Tarquin. I'll call you early.
Do you know I couldn't eat a thing right now?
Rosie, Rosie. I could live on that sweet name the rest of my life without eating.
Storm curled up by the fire, yawning loudly. She did not fancy an entire night listening to a lovelorn hare singing the praises of his beloved. Oh well, I'd best get some sleep. By the way, my name's Storm Gullwhacker. This rope is my weapon. Actually, the rope's called Gullwhacker. Sleep was some time coming to the mousemaid, as she had to lie there, listening to Tarquin composing dreadful love songs and plucking odd chords on his Harolina.
Oh, Rosie the Hon, you're certainly the one. I'll bet my bally life. With your cute little nosy, beautiful Rosie, you'll make a lovely wife. Let's see now. What rhymes with wife? Wife. What rhymes with wife? Strife. Knife. Life. That's it. The fire burned to ash, and red embers in the deep night. Oh, the fire burned to white ash, and red embers in the deep nighttime forest. And that's the end of chapter 9. We'll be on chapter 10. That's all for tonight. Oops, getting dark. I bid you all good night. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.